Hi everyone, and welcome to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with WendyKLaidlaw. Wendy has spent the last 2 years helping women with various stages of endometriosis to heal naturally after putting her condition into remission. After her own healing success from stage 4 endometriosis and adenomyosis, she's inspired to heal others, and her goal is to help some of the 175 million women know that there is another way other than painkillers, drugs, or surgery. This is the place to be for real talk with real people for real results, so you can learn how to heal your endometriosis naturally. Please note that the opinions expressed in this program may represent options, but are not a substitute for proper medical care. Before starting any new healthcare program, we recommend you consult with a health professional.
Hey everyone, it's Wendy here. And as always, I do hope that this message finds you well. So we have had some questions coming in on the embracing emotions element, and well done for you all for doing such a great job so far and paying attention and doing all the homework and really getting more and more comfortable with your emotions. Now, remember, as always, that it takes time. We spent most of our lives running away from our emotions, feeling frightened of our emotions. Like I remember I was saying to somebody the other day, I used to literally say, I don't do emotions. Yeah, when I had my business suit and my briefcase and that was all my armory. And then I'd go home and spend my evening or afternoons crying, So, I just didn't know what to do with all these emotions. I just knew that I was this overly sensitive being, and I had no idea. I mean, I had all these people around about me that were toxic. I didn't know were toxic at the time, that would project all this stuff onto me. Oh, you're just too sensitive. Oh, that was just a joke. Oh, what's wrong with you? All these things. So I internalized all of that. And this is why I now recognize that's why I became so diseased, because I had such dis-ease, because I had all this projection coming onto me, yet I knew somewhere deep down that didn't make sense. Like there was an untruth to it. And I think that's what's quite interesting too, when you'll be around certain people, because part of this journey is increasing your awareness and learning kind of who fills you up, who gives you energy, and who depletes your energy, or who is energy neutral. Now, you probably have all seen the 11 types of toxic people. I found that information really validating and exciting. I say exciting because I'd never actually heard people talk about other people in that way before. And we've all been conditioned in various parts of our cultures and society to think that everyone is perfect and we're the problem. And that's not the case. There are a lot of really dark, toxic, ugly, vile, vulgar people out there in the world. And what we're learning to do is that we're learning to remove ourselves and unstick from the projections of what's been put upon us, or that we've taken in and internalized. We're learning to separate what is us at our core and be comfortable with who we are, and question and query through the journaling, through the meditations, go, yeah, I don't think like that. Like, I am not that person that they're making me out to be, or, I do feel this. I do feel value in myself. I do recognize my strengths. Yes, there's things showing up in my body right now. How do I deal with that? What's it trying to tell me? All these kind of things. So you're very early on in the journey. And as I say, the key is just to keep noticing kind of what's coming up for you. If you can, as much as you can, again, we're still very early days, is just to use your journal as your kind of best friend. So in an ideal world, we'd have a friend that we could just phone up and go, oh, this person really hurt me, upset me. They said this to me, blah, 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 blah. But we can use that, our journal, and go, that really upset me. I don't understand that. What should I do? How should I approach this? What should I say? Should I just do nothing? And just allow the questions to form. Now, what is really powerful about this process, and this process works with every single woman that comes through this, is it's the type of questions that you ask. So if you don't get answers straight away, don't give up and don't despair. Just recognize that they will come to you when you're ready to receive them. And I think a really powerful question is like, what would it take for me to know what to do? Or what would it take for me to understand how this person's affecting me? Or what would it take for me to really see this person as they are and not how I want them to be? Because remember, at the core of who we are, there is a major protector part who wants us to be safe from any harm or upset or ill will. And we all have very strong protector parts, which we love and we want to keep. What we're trying to do is build up our internal parent part, or create that. So the internal parent can say, can give that soothing kind of motherese type voice, a voice that you find you can make a voice up. You can use one for, say, Kelly Howell. You can use my voice. You can use your granny's voice, a voice that really supports and comforts you and says, it's okay. I understand that you're upset. Don't worry about that now. Well, the answers will come to us. Just have faith and trust the journey and things like that. So that will come in time. Now, I know that there's been some questions that have come in. So let me just pull this up now. So just see questions here. The first question that's come in is, I don't often feel like I'm connecting to any different part of my brain first thing in the morning. It's like my normal everyday brain is ready to go straight away when I wake up. Does this slow down the process of getting to know myself better, or is there anything I can do differently to connect more with my subconscious? Or is it still just early days and being able to connect more with my deeper self? Well, great question. And to answer your question, our minds have, what we're doing with the journaling is we're retraining our brain to manage our minds. Our minds, when we've been in dis-ease or discomfort or upset or being triggered, have been in this fight, flight or freeze fold mode. So it's in constant sort of survival mode. I love the analogy of, we have sort of two amygdalae in our brain, and they're like hypersensitive and alarm systems that they're constantly scanning our environment and our body and checking for danger. And we want those amygdalae out there taking care of us, but sometimes they can be overly sensitive. Sometimes it can be overly heightened. And what we're looking to do is engage in more conversation with our amygdalae, which are little alarm systems. And we're coming into the alarm systems and we're saying, right, okay, normally we would have just fired off and the body would have shut down and gone into a certain state. Now we're just checking in with our amygdala and going, okay, with our motherese and our inner parent or our inner hugs, higher power, universe, God, Goddess, source. And we're allowing that voice to say, okay, we've got this. We're an adult now. We have tools now. We have resources. Let's just journal about this. Let's just get some perspective. If we're feeling under pressure, we just take time. Slow is fast. So again, what we're doing is we're retraining our hippocampus, where all our memories are, because our amygdala can trigger and pull our hippocampus because we suddenly are pulling in old memories. We need to engage our prefrontal cortex, which is our thinking brain. But sometimes if the fire alarms go off, we can't think. So what we need to do is just parent ourselves to say slow is fast. If we don't know what to do, we do nothing until we know what to do. That's really important. That saved me so much stress over the years. I used to just be so reactive, and that just caused a lot of stress, a lot of cortisol and things. So when you're waking up in the morning, I just want you to kind of kindly observe that if your mind's going straight into activity, that's just an old wiring. And that was a wiring for protectiveness. And that's all that you knew what to do at the time. And that's okay. The fact you're on this pathway speaks volumes for the parts of you that are still perhaps waiting to come up, to say, we understand that there's another way to be, another way to do things, another way to look at things and observe and understand things. And this is where the compassion is developed. So again, if you notice that, which you are doing, which is awesome, give yourself credit for the fact you're noticing it. My view is awareness is half the journey, half the battle. So the fact that you have the awareness that your mind's going straight into kind of activity and lots of thoughts, I think that's great that you notice that. So give yourself kindness and compassion and say, hey, at least we notice it. Then what happens is sometimes we have this perfectionist and the pusher and the people pleaser and all those other strong parts come in and go, oh my goodness, we shouldn't be thinking like that. We should be like Zen all the time. Well, we're not Zen all the time. We're constantly kind of being affected by our environment. So this is where the kindness and the compassion comes in, and kind of like an understanding, that it is very much early days and you are starting to connect with your deeper selves. It's not just one self, remember, it's selves. And in fact, I was speaking to a client earlier this week, and I was saying, I remember on my journey that sometimes I get triggered into perfectionism, like, oh, I shouldn't be thinking like this. Oh, I should be thinking like that. And why am I not here yet? And then I would remember, and this was very early on, oh, that's just a part of me. That's just a part that's been triggered, or that's just a part that's been irked, or is overly sensitive, or something's going on. That's just one part of me. So when you think of waking up and thinking, oh, I'm not there yet, maybe just try as the observer, just notice, oh, which part is speaking and which part isn't saying that? Oh, maybe it's my pusher part. Maybe it's my perfectionist part, and smile and be compassionate and kind to that part. Understand that it's pushing for perfectionism because it feels that that's where you'll be safe. Now, the more that you can be the observer and just notice what's coming up, the more that you will connect to your deeper selves. It's not just one part, it's many parts, and there's many beautiful parts that are still to emerge, and it's a journey. And those deeper selves are probably still a bit scared right now, still a bit uncertain, but I do want to reassure you, the very fact that you're here, those deeper parts, these deeper selves have guided you here. I have absolute faith in that. I see it over and over and over again. There's something in you that knows you needed to be here because you know it's safe. You know, I understand you, that I get you, that we're not rushing you or pushing you, but we can envelope you in love, which starts this kind of self-acceptance journey, which is really tough for a lot of us when we've beaten ourselves up our whole life, or we've had people project stuff onto us. So yes, it takes time. And it takes as long as it takes, trust this process, trust this journey. This works like nothing else out there. I'm continually working with different groups of people in different situations, and time again, this process is so powerful, but yet it's slow. It's like the planting of an acorn to grow the oak tree. We can be standing over the soil where the acorn is in, and we're like, come on, hurry up. Why are you not growing yet? And we have to understand that acorn, has to be really adamant. It doesn't want to be an acorn anymore. It wants to change. So it has to let go of being an acorn. Then it has to acknowledge it has to go down first. It has to kind of go down in the ground for roots to fully embed itself, to start embedding itself. And then new shoots start to come up. These new shoots are fragile by default. So once these shoots start to come up, it then has to get more roots, and then more shoots, and then more roots, and then more shoots. So that's how you get to kind of recognize that it's a super slow pathway, which is fast, because there is no quick fix to this. You're really getting to know yourself in a whole new way, and it really starts to make a wonderful difference when you can just accept yourself where you're at, recognizing that you're on this beautiful fast track journey, ironically, to where you want to go. So I knew that was very freeing for me when I was able to acknowledge, okay, I'm where I'm at, and I'm accepting where I'm at. Doesn't mean I'm going to stay stuck here, but if I can just accept where I'm at, it frees me up from the criticism, the self-judgment, the perfectionism to move forward. So just trust that you're where you're meant to be right now, and that just notice, just journal. Oh, I notice my brain's going off again. And the very fact you're journaling as you wake up in the morning is you tapping into your subconscious. So don't worry about, you're not supposed to be in any kind of unthinking Zen state. That's just not the way that we're wired. All I'm looking for you to do is write every single thing down. If you're moving into all my clients end up moving into 3 A4 pages in the morning. If you need to write more, then write more, but make sure you're writing as you wake up. If you need to write during the day to be your best friend, do it. If you need to write again before you go to sleep, if that's going to help you, if you're angry, you're upset, you're frustrated, you're annoyed, you're irritated, get it down. I think I was saying to some other clients, I was away on business, and I was involved in a group, and one morning I wrote 18 pages, 18 pages, because I had so much going through my head and through my brain. I was writing in the evening as well. I was writing throughout the day. And then this morning I wrote 18 pages. So be there for yourself. There's no kind of right or wrong way except to journal as you wake up in the morning. That allows you to tap into other brain states. But the very fact you're journaling is increasing your awareness. Your awareness is half the battle into learning more about yourself and discovering these other parts. Saying, I feel like I've been resisting and suppressing many of my emotions for so long now, both pleasant and unpleasant ones, that I'm struggling to really feel any of them. When I do guided meditation and try to feel peaceful emotions, it's like I'm going through the motions sometimes. Excuse me. When there's something to look forward to and I should feel excited, I often don't. Or even when I'm filling out my food and feelings form about which emotions are evident, most of the time I just feel nothing. Should I be feeling more by this? Should I be feeling more than this by now? Again, you're where you're meant to be. I mean, I'm reading that you've been resisting and suppressing many of your emotions for so long that you're struggling to feel any of them. This is completely 100% natural. Remember, you have all these parts that have been protecting you from the external stimuli. You perhaps have internalized other people's thoughts and feelings and projections onto you without you knowing or with you knowing. And so the idea of feeling anything feels potential danger or feels potential hurt or just is overwhelming of feeling. So again, this is completely natural at this particular point of your journey. This is why in the EndoBoss Academy, what we do is we pull back a little bit to go into the produce and the products and the property, and then we'll come back in again through the people and the past, because what we're trying to do is we're navigating and managing very lovingly our various parts. So the parts of you that are like, I feel like I'm going through the motions, well, actually, you're turning up for yourself. So you are doing the best you can where you're at right now. And that's all that we focus on. I think, again, if you, my sense is that when you're saying that, I've got things I should be looking forward to, but I'm not, it's because you're protecting yourself from disappointment, letdown, it not happening. There's a really beautiful protective part in there. And again, I encourage you just to explore that in your journal and thank that part for being suspicious of how you should be feeling, or being suspicious of getting excited about an event in case it doesn't happen, because you're listening to yourself, you're paying attention to yourself now for the first time. And I think it's natural to kind of go, oh, I should be here, or maybe I should be feeling more pleasant, maybe I should be feeling more unpleasant. I suspect that you're just in deep protective mode, that you've maybe numbed yourself out. If you're anything like me, I just became numbed to everything because it was the only way that I could cope. But of course, whilst I thought I was numb, I was still feeling, I was still absorbing the energies and the people around me. I was still internalizing a lot of stuff, but I was so scared by myself and my emotions. I just tried as best I could to numb them. Now, what happens when we do that? Again, it's a very clever strategy, but unfortunately, it takes so much energy to do that. It takes more energy to numb ourselves from these emotions than feel them. But at the moment, I sense there's a bit of fear about feeling them, and that is completely natural. So don't rush it. Like you wouldn't rush a little child. You just bring out your inner parent or your observer or your hugs, your higher power, universe, God, goddess, and say, I hear that you don't know how to feel those feelings. That's okay. What would it take for you to feel more safe or more comfortable? Or what can I do? Can it be a furry blanket? Can it be going into nature? Can it be a hot chocolate? Can it be drawing or poetry or music? What would it take? Because I sense it's like a little you, like a younger part of you that just needs more mothering and more loving and more accepting. We tend to be our own worst critics and harsh, women on ourselves. So, again, just accept where you're at. Remember that just because you're accepting where you're at doesn't mean that you're stopping. The very act of acceptance is a doing, and just acknowledging that it's hard to feel, and allow yourself perhaps the grief of and the upset and the disappointment and the frustration and the anger and the rage. Like, why is this so hard for me? And why isn't it easier? Allow yourself what they call the tail of full feeling of the emotions. That by itself, just the noticing, is a doing, and just the observing of what's happening or not happening in the way that you want it. hear those different parts. Hear the younger you go, it's not fair. I want to feel what I'm scared to feel. Hear the adolescents go, don't tell me what to do, tell me what to do. Hear your adult self go, I should be here now. And hear the perfectionist going, you should be doing this by now. And hear all your different parts. And I deliberately kind of don't give everybody specific names to their parts, because I want you to kind of arrive at your own name for your various parts. Whatever feels appropriate, you name it. But I've got a very strong perfectionist, very strong pusher, very strong people pleaser, very strong dominant parts, which I have. The hardest thing for me to do was to thank them, because I used to be in conflict with my parts. I'd have these parts that wanted to feel but couldn't feel. I couldn't feel them because when I did feel them, I felt like overwhelmed or drowning in them. Now I just notice them. I try and not be the feelings. So I am not the feelings and I am not the thoughts. I'm just the observer of the feelings and the thoughts. But that takes time. Remember, we're retraining our brain to manage our mind. We're rewiring our brain. And all the while we're doing that, we're slowly, very slowly coming back into our body as well, which again, by itself can be very overwhelming. And there can be a lot stored deep down in our pelvis, which again is my belief is why endometriosis and cysts and fibroids and adenomyosis shows up, because that's where we've stored it and tried to batten it down because it felt so overwhelming. So you are where you're meant to be. And should you be feeling more by now? You're feeling what you feel comfortable feeling. Again, trust the process, trust the journaling, trust the meditation, trust that you have a higher power, universe, God, goddess, source. You have this guidance system that brought you to me in the first place, and that you're where you're meant to be. The last question you're saying is, I'm particularly noticing the unhelpful beliefs area of my emotions and thoughts, as I know this is a big part of my struggles. I feel inadequate. I'm not good enough, not doing enough. I need to please everyone. And if I mess up, I'm a failure. I think a lot of these beliefs come from my perceptions more than from others. It's not like anyone has said those things to me, but I just feel them deeply. And it's something I find hard to swap out with helpful beliefs. Even though I had loving parents growing up, it's so much a part of me to perform to earn acceptance. My parents were very caring, but also strong with their discipline while they raised me, which I've appreciated because it gave me good morals and boundaries and stability. But I'm wondering if that is also why I've had a strong belief to perform, be good from such a young age, because of my extra sensitive nature. And that's why I'm finding it hard to change my mindset now. Can you give me any suggestions to help me change these neural pathways that are so deeply rooted? Well, again, you know, when I started doing so there was various stages I started to kind of address, and the beliefs were a really big one for me. Again, in the EndoBoss Academy, we go into a lot more detail about that, where we take you through specific exercises and structures and processes where we get you to actually write out all your beliefs. And you're right, you know, it's not easy just to swap them out. It's like trying to put cream on top of a lump of mold. It just doesn't work that easily. These beliefs that you took on were designed to protect yourself and for you to be the best version of yourself. And I always like to say, I like to generalize here and say that I like to think that every set of parents did the best that they could with the information that they had. And whilst you felt you had very caring parents and you know, they gave you good structure and discipline, because of your highly sensitive nature, perhaps you felt it could have been a look or a tone or whatever, and it might have not been intentional, that you internalized that, oh, mum wasn't happy with me, I wasn't quite good enough there, so I need to be better. And maybe your mum wasn't as sensitive, so she didn't pick that up and she didn't correct it, and that's been taken in as an internal dialogue. I mean, we never really quite know where the dialogue comes from. Again, somebody might say something, and the type of sensitive people that we are, we might, because of our sensitivity, we might misinterpret that. We might hear a tone or inflection that perhaps the person didn't mean. You know, I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt. At the end of the day, they could have said and do what they have said and done. What we're working on is allowing some spotlight onto that to go, where's the evidence for those old beliefs that I don't want to keep anymore? So I use the analogy of like when we were little, perhaps we had a beautiful pair of pink glittery shoes that we just loved, and they had ribbons and bows on them, and they were just our favorite shoes in the world. But then as we got older, they got old and tatty and discolored, and we outgrew the shoes. But there's a part of us that still wanted to put our feet in these shoes, but we've outgrown it. And I kind of feel like the beliefs are a bit like that. It's great that you've increased your awareness to notice that there's certain beliefs that you just don't want to have anymore because they make you feel yuck. But those beliefs, again, I believe, were originated to protect you. So if you had the belief of I'm a failure, that was a big one for me. Like I'm just a big fat failure. It was kind of like, well, I needed to do more and be more. And like, how much did I need to do and be to be accepted by the people around me? Now, that was a belief that I took in. And again, our cultures encourage it, like do more, be more, get done yesterday. And if you don't do that, you're a failure. It's like, are you success? I remember reading a book about 30 years ago called Are You a Success or Are You a Failure? And it said, if you've ever thought this, then you're a failure. And I was like, oh my God, I thought that. I must be a failure. And I cried and cried and cried myself to sleep that night. And then the next day I'm like, well, okay, I might sometimes think that, but it doesn't mean I'm a failure. So I guess what I'm trying to say is use your journal and use your observer self and your higher power, universe, God, goddess, source, your parenting self to say, so is that true all the time? So, you know, is there truth in that now? Maybe I did feel it when I was younger, when I knocked over a vase, or I didn't achieve a goal, or I didn't make somebody happy in the way that I wanted to make them happy. I felt a failure. But what if we turned that around and said, well, actually, you know, I'm okay as I am where I'm at. I don't have to be success or failure. But what if I was somewhere in the middle? Like, I'm okay as I am. And that was really powerful for me. Like, I'm okay as I am. Yes, I want to achieve successes. And I believe that I have in my own way, my own time, but not to keep other people happy or make them like me or appreciate me. And I had a huge part of me that was like, if I just do this, and I was one of those overachiever types, overproducing, trying to, as I recognize, subconsciously get other people to say, oh, aren't you a good girl? Aren't you a success through my life? But it was never enough. Like it never made me happy because I was looking external to be filled up. So I think when we have these beliefs, again, it's an opportunity just either before a meditation to go, is there any truth to that now at my age and stage? Do I really believe that? And allow yourself to write about it. Allow yourself to be upset and angry and actually that's not fair. And yeah, I might have felt it on this particular thing, but do I genuinely feel in my whole being and my whole life? And again, what we're doing is we're kind of turning ourselves inside out, and we're allowing ourselves the opportunity just to observe, just to notice, trying not to judge. It's not particularly easy not to judge when you've had these protective parts in place and these beliefs in place that all that they've been designed to do is to protect you. So again, you know, back to your question, can you give me suggestions to help me change the neural pathways that are so deeply rooted? You're doing it. Remember, there's nothing particularly spectacular that I'm asking you to do. As I say, the EndoBoss Academy goes into a lot more detail because we're going into the brain-body connection. But what I ask you to do is to look at those, even just take one belief and go and sit up in a hill or sit on a bench or sit around ducks or birds and just allow yourself to question and be curious, like this belief, do I really feel that? And therefore, you know, what would this part of me have evidence to that belief? And what about the younger part of me? So like, I feel inadequate, I'm not good enough. These are all very, very common beliefs that so many people are wandering the planet feeling like they're inadequate, they're a failure, they're not good enough, they're unlovable. And it's horrible to think of how many people are wandering around the planet now. I used to have all those beliefs. I don't have them anymore, only because I've shone a little light on them. And I started to go, do I really believe that? And if I do, where does that come from? Has it come from religion, society? Has it come from my teachers? Has it come from my granny who was a battle axe? Or has it come from somebody who was well-meaning but projected onto me? Have I internalized it myself? Have I just taken it in? So again, pose the question and just be the observer and just notice when those beliefs and things are triggered and when they come up, that's quite an exciting thing to do, is just to notice, like, when is that activated? Is it when a partner isn't appreciative of a meal that you've cooked, or having done something for them, you're like, oh, I feel inadequate. So again, just try and notice as much as you can. And remember, being super kind to yourself and really compassionate, kind of like being the observer of the belief, of the emotion, of the feeling. Even not wanting to feel is a feeling. And kind of just start to kind of, what we're doing is we're kind of coming back a little bit, back a little bit, and back a little bit, just to go, so how and why was that activated? Oh, I noticed that that belief was triggered in me there. In fact, where was I? I think it was something a couple of months ago, and I said to some of our clients that I was speaking to this couple, and suddenly this old belief came up that was triggered from nowhere. And it was the gentleman, the way he was speaking to his girlfriend, I felt was really undermining. And it activated like an old feeling just briefly. But I excused myself. I went to my journal and I thought, oh, yes, gosh, I'm feeling that in my body. Like, oh, I don't like that. And then I was like, it's okay. It's because of him. He said it to her, and you're feeling her. Because remember, because we're such feeling beings, sometimes we can feel other people's negative beliefs or negative feelings or negative thoughts, and we take them in as our own. So this is what we're doing, is we're kind of separating to go, actually, I don't feel that way anymore, but yes, I'm feeling what she's feeling. So this is why we become the detectives, we become the observers. We just recognize these things and just keep trusting the process. It's super powerful. I can't tell you how many tens of thousands of women that this has helped, taken from a place of abject despair into abject success. And honestly, the women now that come through the program, their achievements and their, they never thought possible. And this is why in the EndoBoss Academy, I give women a solid brass medal. And it's got round here, it's got effort, courage, discipline, respect, honor, pride, passion, and victory. And the reason I give these medals, and they're special edition, and there's only a few of them made at a time, is because I want to recognize the battles that you're working your way through. Some that are really obvious, some that are subconscious, some that are projected, some that are just overly sensitized into us, and that it takes time. The more time that we take, the slower we do it, the more succinct and the faster we get to where we want to go. So keep trusting the process. You're in the right place at the right time. You have everything in you. You would not have been guided to me if you didn't have all the qualities already there. All that I'm doing and my team are doing is helping you pull out the treasures, the gems, the jewels that already lie within you. You wouldn't be here otherwise, and allow yourself to safely pull them out and look at them and treasure them and appreciate them and recognize the power that you have to totally transform your life. You've got to remember, endometriosis has shown up. It's not just a disease, it's giving you the opportunity of total transformation. So I'm so excited that you're here. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with WendyKLaidlaw. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and rate us. If you're interested in learning more, you can download your top 5 jumpstart tips at healendometriosisnaturally.com and jump on the VIP email list. Remember to keep you number one, for the world needs a healthy you.